October 1912. An Ottoman army advances towards Serbian troops outside a town called Kumanovo. What happens over the next 2 days will help destroy centuries of Ottoman power in this part of Europe. But here's the twist. Serbia's victory doesn't stabilize the Balkans. It does almost the opposite. By the end, you'll understand why Kumanovo was not simply a Serbian victory over the Ottoman Empire. It was part of a geopolitical earthquake. For nearly 5 centuries, the Ottoman Empire ruled southeastern Europe. By the 19th century, this imperial authority was fracturing. Internal administrative stagnation and military defeats steadily eroded Constantinople's control, while local nationalist movements rose across the region. External powers accelerated the decline. The Russian Empire pushed from the east, while Austria-Hungary exerted pressure from the west. At the Congress of Berlin in 1878, Serbia secured formal independence. This international recognition gave the new nation a state apparatus, a modern standing army, and the diplomatic position to pursue its territorial ambitions. Armed with these sovereign institutions, Serbia prepared to challenge the remaining Ottoman presence. Kumanovo became a major milestone in this long imperial retreat. Macedonia was a highly contested political space. The region held a complex patchwork of overlapping Serbian, Bulgarian, Greek, Albanian, and local identities. The central question was which successor states would replace Ottoman authority as imperial power faded. Serbia claimed parts of the territory as historically and strategically vital, while Bulgaria and Greece advanced their own major territorial demands. Because these diverse local populations and competing national ambitions heavily overlapped, no single political map could satisfy every state. This unresolved succession question hung over the entire region, ensuring that any military cooperation between the rising Balkan states would remain highly fragile. In 1912, Serbia, Bulgaria, Greece, and Montenegro formed the Balkan League. Encouraged by Russia to bridge the divisions between Belgrade and Sofia, this coalition was a temporary alliance of sovereign governments, not a unified state or military force. Each member maintained its own conflicting territorial ambitions for the post-Ottoman era. Yet when the First Balkan War began in October 1912, the League successfully forced the Ottoman Empire to divide its forces across multiple fronts. This immediate military coordination worked on the battlefield, but the political fragility of the League remained, bringing rivals into the same war without a shared vision for peace. Kumanovo sat northeast of Skopje, positioned directly along the Vardar corridor. This natural valley was the strategic highway into the heart of Ottoman Macedonia. Advancing south along this route was the Serbian First Army under Crown Prince Alexander, tasked with forcing a path through the region. Blocking their advance was the Ottoman Vardar army, commanded by Zeki Pasha, responsible for securing this imperial frontier. The opposing strategic objectives were straightforward. The Serbian command needed to capture this bottleneck to unlock the road further south, while the Ottomans aimed to deliver a decisive blow that would shatter the Serbian campaign before it gained momentum. On the morning of October 23, 1912, the initiative belonged to the Ottomans. Zeki Pasha did not wait to be attacked. Under cover of dense fog and rain, the Ottoman Vardar army launched an aggressive offensive across a 10-mile front. The Serbian First Army Command, led by Crown Prince Alexander, was caught unprepared. Believing they faced only minor vanguard forces, the Serbians underestimated the scale and character of the threat. Zeki Pasha's 6th and 7th Corps struck hard against the Serbian left flank. Heavy fighting broke out as Ottoman infantry advanced in columns across the open plain. Communication was poor on both sides, and commanders operated with incomplete information in the mist. On the Serbian left, units suffered severe pressure, forcing local withdrawals to adjust the line. Yet despite the chaos and the surprise of the assault, the Serbian formations did not collapse. They held their ground through the initial shock, setting up a brutal test of endurance on the wet Macedonian plain. By the morning of October 24, 1912, the window for a decisive Ottoman breakthrough was closing. Having survived the first day's pressure, the Serbian command adjusted its lines with a clearer understanding of Zeki Pasha's actual strength. They realized they faced the main Ottoman Vardar army. With the element of surprise gone, the initiative shifted. Crown Prince Alexander's forces transitioned from defense to organized counter-pressure. Serbian infantry consolidated their positions, while their artillery batteries, now fully deployed, opened a concentrated bombardment on the advancing Ottoman columns. This heavy fire broke the momentum of the assault. The operational reality of the battle redefined victory, not as the immediate destruction of the enemy, but as holding the line, reversing the pressure, and forcing a decision. Under sustained Serbian counterattacks, the Ottoman Vardar army could no longer sustain its offensive. By late afternoon, Zeki Pasha ordered a general withdrawal, securing Serbia's first major battlefield victory of the campaign. Following their defeat, the Ottoman Vardar army retreated south, leaving the Vardar corridor exposed. The Serbian First Army pursued them, entering Skopje on October 30th without facing major resistance. This advance occurred alongside coordinated attacks by Bulgaria, Greece, and Montenegro. Facing pressure on multiple fronts, the Ottoman Empire lost ground rapidly, surrendering most of its European territories within months. Yet, securing physical control over these lands did not establish a stable political order. Which mattered more at Kumanovo, the Serbian battlefield victory itself, or the geopolitical consequences that followed it? Let me know in the comments. The next video covers the Second Balkan War of 1913, when the former allies turned against one another. Subscribe for more documentaries explaining how individual battles reshaped wider geopolitical conflicts. For the Serbian state, the victory at Kumanovo carried immense symbolic weight, directly linked to memories of the medieval Serbian kingdom, and the loss at the Battle of Kosovo in 1389. In this national narrative, the military advance was celebrated as a long-awaited liberation of ancestral lands. Yet this perspective was far from universal. The territories claimed by Belgrade were home to a diverse population of Albanians, Turks, Greeks, and Slavic Christians. For these local communities, the shifting front lines brought displacement, property seizure, and violence. While wartime propaganda on all sides amplified reports of atrocities, contemporary diplomatic dispatches and the 1914 Carnegie Endowment investigation documented systematic abuses against civilians by both regular armies and local paramilitaries. Alongside the strategic triumph celebrated in Serbia, the physical reality of the campaign was defined by a severe humanitarian crisis. Following the victory at Kumanovo, Serbia sought to secure an outlet to the Adriatic Sea, aiming to acquire the port of Bar, or Vlor. A maritime port would guarantee economic and strategic independence, freeing Belgrade from regional trade blockades. But this expansion alarmed Vienna. Austria-Hungary feared Serbian growth and its growing influence among the millions of South Slavs inside the Habsburg Empire, while also worrying that Russia would project power through its Serbian ally. To counter Belgrade, Vienna opposed any permanent Serbian access to the Adriatic. At the 1913 London Conference, the great powers backed the creation of an independent Albania. This decision limited Serbia's westward expansion, showing how a battlefield victory could be narrowed by international diplomacy. With its path to the Adriatic blocked, Belgrade focused its ambitions further south, raising the stakes in Macedonia. But Bulgaria also claimed these lands, while Greece actively defended its recent territorial gains. The division of the former Ottoman territory quickly turned the victorious coalition partners into bitter rivals. In June 1913, this friction exploded. Bulgaria launched a surprise attack on Serbian and Greek positions, starting the Second Balkan War. This was not a continuation of the struggle against the Ottomans, but an entirely new conflict among former allies. Romania and the Ottoman Empire intervened, invading Bulgaria from multiple fronts. Defeated and isolated, Bulgaria signed the Treaty of Bucharest in August. The agreement stripped Sofia of its gains, partitioning Macedonia primarily between Greece and Serbia. Belgrade emerged from the crisis with vastly expanded territory, a hardened army, and a dangerous new wave of national self-assurance. The newly established regional order merged into a volatile European state system. While the Battle of Kumanovo did not cause the First World War on its own, it reshaped the strategic environment. Long before the clash, imperial competition, military planning, rising nationalism, and rigid alliance networks involving Germany, France, Russia, and Austria-Hungary already defined European relations. The Balkan Wars accelerated these pre-existing tensions. With Ottoman power in Europe greatly reduced, Serbia grew significantly stronger, possessing a battle-tested military and expanded borders. This shift heightened anxieties in Vienna, where Austria-Hungary increasingly viewed Belgrade as a direct strategic challenge to the stability of its own multinational empire. Meanwhile, Russia, determined to maintain its position in the Balkans and protect its Slavic ally, had stronger reasons to resist Austrian diplomatic pressure. Kumanovo did not trigger the conflict of 1914. Instead, it contributed to a dangerous redistribution of power, intensifying regional rivalries and ensuring that any local crisis would quickly reverberate across the continent. The Battle of Kumanovo permanently redistributed power across the region. By defeating a major Ottoman army and opening the road to Skopje, the clash accelerated the collapse of Ottoman authority in the Central Balkans. Yet, the retreat of one empire did not bring peace. Instead, it transferred the struggle to competing local states and rival great powers. Serbia emerged larger, more influential, and battle-tested, triggering intense alarm in Austria-Hungary. At the same time, the overlapping claims over Macedonia shattered the Balkan League, turning victorious allies into immediate enemies. Rather than resolving the regional question, the shift in power ensured that the struggle would continue to escalate. In the next video, we turn to the Second Balkan War of 2013, when the states that fought together against the Ottoman Empire turned against each other. Subscribe for more documentaries explaining how individual battles reshaped wider geopolitical conflicts. Today, the political fault lines of the Balkans still trace those old battlefields. As modern Europe grapples with shifting borders and fragile alliances, Kumanovo reminds us that collapsing empires leave behind a vacuum few can control. The struggle to balance national ambitions with regional stability remains as urgent now as it was then.